Were a president of the United States to be removed today, it would pose existential dangers to our ability to live together as a people. The decision would not be accepted by many Americans.
It's the policy of the president to demand foreign interference and withhold money from an ally at war unless they get it. That's what they call policy. I'm sorry. That's what I call corruption. And they can dress it up and find legalese, but corruption is still corruption.
Accusations, bickering, and a House divided. It has been a combative and historic week in our nation's capital. Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Jack Ford. President Trump's impeachment trial is setting the stage for election 2020. But how will the showdown go at the polls if the president is acquitted, as many expect, in the Senate? Will it still matter to voters here in New York and across the country come November? Or could the impeachment fight backfire on Democrats as they fight to retake the White House and the Senate? Will it help or hurt President Trump's chances for re-election? And can anything really be done to bridge the country's ever-widening political divide? Just some of the crucial questions we'll tackle tonight as we look ahead with our powerhouse pundits, two of our favorite guests, political columnist Amy Holmes and New York Times bestselling author and political commentator Ellis Hennigan. Welcome to both of you.
Hey, Jeff.
I said this before, but I always feel smarter after I've talked to the two of you here. It's assumed by just about everybody that the result will be an acquittal, not removal in the Senate. And then we move forward. Moving forward immediately, within months, to the 2020 presidential election. So let's look at possible positives and negatives for both sides of the political aisle, if we can. Let's start with the Democrats, as I mentioned in the introduction. What do you think? And I'll ask you guys sort of opposite views here. So, Amy, I'll start with you. From the Democrats' perspective, what do you think there might be in terms of positives for them coming out of this impeachment trial and heading into the presidential election?
Well, one of the positives for Democrats that we've seen with this is that it's been a unifying event, Democrats rallying around impeaching the president. Now, we knew that they were going to launch this effort after they won back the House in 2018. I don't think that was any surprise. And in fact, this is actually the fourth vote on attempting to impeach the president in the House. Many of the House members had already voted before that they wanted to get rid of President Trump. So I think politically we're seeing that. But that's going to fade pretty quickly as the primaries start rolling. We see that Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, that his polling is going up and possibly winning Iowa, New Hampshire. There's some early polling out showing him ahead in California. So Democrats still have this big ideological battle that they're going to have to face between the moderates, sort of represented by Joe Biden, and the progressives, Democratic Socialists, the Bernie Bros. And that's just going to start happening in a couple of weeks.
I love the term Bernie Bros.
The Bernie Bros.
So we might
see this current unanimity fall apart.
Start to
quickly.
fracture.
Yep.
Okay, so from the perspectives of the Democrats, the downside, what would you be saying to folks about here's what you risked coming into this, and here's what these negative consequences might be coming into the presidential election?
Well, a couple things. First of all, clearly it revs up the Trump supporters, right? I mean, they feel aggrieved, they feel angry, they're creating these crazy arguments, in my view, to defend their guys. So the motivation on the other side will be strong. What surprised me, honestly, is how little impact so far it's had on the Democratic race, right? I'd have assumed that the candidates, the senators who are stuck in Washington at this crucial moment, that their campaigns would have been wrecked by this. But yet lately, Bernie is the one who seems to be romping most, which would undermine that view. And Biden, who, this could have bounced hugely in his favor, or it could have been a problem for him, but it really seemed to matter that much.
Yeah. Let's now flip it over and talk about the Republicans. All right. So, Amy, coming into now the presidential campaign, what do you think the Republicans can get out of this whole thing in a positive sense?
Well, Ellis mentioned it, which is impeachment has been unifying for both sides and unifying for Republicans. And let's remember that Republican voters, over 90%, support the President of the United States, and they are aggrieved and they are outraged at what they see as a totally politically motivated effort to try to undo the 2016 election. And even now, you see Congressman Schiff suggesting that you need to get rid of the president now so that people can't vote for him in 2020 if they wish. Is there a downside? Look, a lot of President Trump's negatives are baked into the cake. This is what we knew about President Trump before. In 2016, both he and Hillary were the least popular candidates ever to run for president. So I don't see this necessarily dinging him with Republicans. Some of suburban women, however, we're seeing are getting turned off, but they were starting to get turned off from him from the tweets, let alone phone calls to the Ukrainian president.
I'll give you
Downside.
something.
Yeah.
I'll give you something I think is pretty powerful, which is the way this trial is run, right? 75% of Americans of all parties across the line want witnesses, want a real trial, want some evidence, don't like the way that Mitch McConnell and his supporters in the Senate
Ratings are going down, down.
But hold
We've
on
been
a
seeing
second.
this.
Nobody,
People losing
Amy, I
interest.
think that most Americans, and the polling backs me up on this, look at this thing and say, this is a fraud trial. This isn't a real deal. This is, even if there is acquittal, as we all expect there to be, it's not going to be the kind of vindication that this president says. That was a phony trial that he won, and I don't think that helps him very much.
But the phoniness, I think, is a view shared by both sides, which is, what are we doing here? We have an election that is only 9 months away. You can make your judgment about President Trump then, and you can get, that's what democracy is for, right? The elections are a job interview. What are we doing tying up the business of Capitol Hill, the United States Senate, with an effort that many see as illegitimate from the very start?
How about for the elections beyond, the congressional elections here? What do we think the consequences are going to be for folks based on this?
Listen, in the end, all this stuff does is intensify the tribalism in both directions. I find it almost impossible to convince anybody of anything anymore. Despite my brilliant arguments, despite the data
I don't
that
even
I'm
have the
able to-
conversations
Do you
anymore
agree?
with people.
And
You're not gonna
with
change
our own
people's minds.
friends and,
Yes.
and families, I don't think you convince people. So as I'm analyzing going forward, I'm looking at things like voter turnout and what kind of intensity there is, and whether there are people who just say, to hell with them all. Exactly.
Right.
Those are the things that I think are going to tip the balance in the Senate and in the House and may ultimately be the election. It's not me convincing Uncle Ernie that he's wrong about Trump.
Right. Yeah. But so that's part of the problem that Democrats in particular have had with impeachment, is that it focuses all of their energy on and attention on an issue that a lot of voters say, this is not what I'm going to be voting on in 2020. What I want to vote on is, what is your plan for health care? What is your plan for issues that actually affect me, my family, my checkbook, kitchen table issues? And we hear the candidates themselves, Andrew Yang, for example, Bernie Sanders, et cetera, saying when I go out to, meet the voters, they're not asking me a million questions about impeachment. They're asking me, what is your plan? And it's hard to get that message through when Democrats are all they want to talk about is President Trump.
Let me get to the bigger cultural impact here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have we just farther and further tribalized ourselves? Is one of the consequences of this going to be that, there is now such an extraordinary division. We are such a house divided here that the notion of introducing compromise, which is a foundational part of a democracy, into our political discourse has now disappeared.
Well, that's certainly,
thought on this.
Jack, that's certainly true. I mean, compromise is very, very hard to reach, and this shows. I don't think this caused it, but this shows it.
Right.
Shows it up. But I got to tell you, I think that part of this process is so important because it has made us discuss some real true principles. We were so maddened to hear Professor Dershowitz's argument that essentially if a president believes that his reelection is in the public interest, he can do just about anything.
And that's a fairly extraordinary argument.
Yeah.
Even if you
I
agree
was
with
gonna say, I
it,
think
even if you
Professor
agree with it,
Dershowitz
it's a
might
fairly
wanna
extraordinary
try to-
argument.
But it's an
Review that.
important one as well because it does remind us that, we have important business here. And if you have a president who is trying to steal the next election or engaged in bring foreign countries in to try and influence our sacred vote, you know what? That's not something you can just overlook and say, we'll deal with this later. In an election that we know now he's trying to steal.
Exactly the problem in terms of compromise. There aren't just two polar positions to take on the president's conduct, which is either, in his words, it was a perfect phone call, it was a terrific phone call. A lot of people don't think that. I don't think that. But nor does it require necessarily the removal of the president from office, overturning the results of the 2016 election. I argued from the very beginning that had House Democrats compromised, tried to find, a bipartisan approach to this, censure, I think, would have been something where they would get Republican buy-in. I actually agree with Nancy Pelosi when she said last year that impeachment, and she was saying this to the far left of her party, that impeachment should be overwhelming and bipartisan and compelling. And so far, it has failed on all
On all
three
those.
counts.
And who the heck would you compromise with? Republicans thought it was all perfect.
No, they
Well,
didn't. There were plenty
Who
that
you
did
gonna
not.
compromise
There
with?
were plenty that did not.
Unfortunately, compromise has disappeared from our landscape here. Once again, always a pleasure to have the
Thank
two of you.
you.
As I
See
said
you,
at the
man.
very beginning, I feel so much smarter after I listen to the two of you.
Us too.
We'll continue this conversation. Amy Ellis, thanks again.